Welcome back, everyone. All right, start a new file and let's go and make, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually make another square lamp, but we're going to add in more geometry. But what we're also going to do is we're going to talk about that theming here. So the first things first is I'm going to scale this down on the z-axis as much as I possibly can. Something like that here, okay? And what we'll do is we will tab into edit mode, take a look at the face select here. We're going to extrude, right click, extrude, and we're going to scale this in just a bit. We're going to extrude it up. And we're just going to do this maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So extrude, scale it in, export, extrude, scale it in, export, extrude, scale it in, export, scale it. Now, extrude, scale it in, extrude, and I'll just kind of move that down a bit. And I'm doing a pretty good job at eyeballing this, but you can see how this is creating a definite kind of aesthetic here. So extrude, right click, scale it in, extrude, extrude, right click, scale it in. So by the way, you're extruding twice. Scale it. There we go. Extrude. So one extrude actually moves it up. The other extrude just makes you be able to scale it in. Extrude. Extrude, right click, scale it in. Extrude. And by the way, when you click E to extrude and you can scale it in, you'll notice that there are dots around that. So I'll just scale that in. E to extrude. Right. Extrude, right click, scale it in. Extrude, right extrude. Extrude, right click, scale it in. Extrude, right click, extrude. And you can see you can kind of get lost here. But here we go. We have this nice little aesthetic here. And extrude, right click, scale it in. Extrude. Extrude, right click, scale it in, and I think that's probably good enough times. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so it was more than 10, but let's go and extrude that up so we can do that here. And that actually looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Now, if you don't like this, we can tab into object mode and you can scale it along, for example, the x-axis, and you can kind of scale it like that. That's a whole different lamp, right? And you can, for example, scale it on the y-axis. There we go. It's a whole different lamp. I personally like it like the square here. I think it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead. Let's create a cube because we're going to theme it here. The opposite is if we created something else that wasn't. If we created something else that was not a cube, for example, if it was, let's say, a sphere or a cylinder, that would still complement it, but it's something called juxtaposition, where you compare two objects against each other. Okay, and let's go. And so now we have this here. What can we do with it? Well, we can kind of scale it down. Looks good. Remember, for whatever reason, it looks better if the cube is bigger. Right, so what can we do with this? Well, there's a couple of things. First things first, we could tab into edit mode. We can extrude, scale it in, and just simply extrude this all the way to the bottom here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing here. Extrude, scale it in, and then extrude. And then there's a place where they kind of meet. So most people are not going to look right into the lamp, so they're not going to be able to see it. And if we really wanted to, we could put a light bulb in there. But I think that actually works out pretty well. And if we really wanted to, we could actually even, there's two things we can do. Let's just take a look at 3 here. So we have, for example, this is implicitly telling our brains it's kind of an arrow. So if we're going to go with that theme, let's tab into we're going to tab into edit mode, select the top layers here, and just simply push scale it in. Now let's scale it in as much as we can, and you can see here that that looks a bit better. But there's a couple problems. We extruded everything down so that we'd have to not only extrude this, but we'd have to extrude the bottom too. So if you just simply select those and we move it in, that solves the problem. Okay, I'll scale it in a little bit more. Yeah, and that actually looks pretty good. Let's take a look at 3 here. Now, of course, these are uneven here, and we weren't really using anything to the grid here, but that works out well. We can also make it bigger, and we can even move it up just a bit, just like that here. Okay, let's tab in object mode, and that actually looks kind of cool. It's a different kind of lamp. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.